In this lesson, we will continue to explore FREECAD, and we're going to see a little bit more about the parts workbench. So while in the previous lesson, we focused more on the part design workbench, and we talked about these first commands right here. So these are additive shapes, additive pure primitives, and pure shapes, and also other modeling tools that we're going to see later on. And then we have subtractive. So we saw we can add, subtract, and also we can use the Boolean operations right here that are three. So and they are called fuse, cut, and common. So fuse to put things together, cut to cut something from another object. Common, it will be like the intersection of the two objects. Now, if we go in the part workbench instead of the part design, we also find here some tools that are pretty similar. So we have all booleans right here. So again, cut, union, and intersection, which are essentially the fusion and common. And then we have others like join objects when you have hollow objects like cubes or like empty boxes like this one here. I'm gonna show you everything in just a minute, and we're gonna use also like a thickness to create an object that is hollow inside. And also here we have primitives, so we have solids, pure solids, and also the creation of primitives from here. So we have pretty similar tools that we have in part design. Now the good news is that you can use part design and you can create parts here and use these tools, and also work together with these other objects that you can create in the part workbench. So you see here a series of examples I've done. Now in the first video we created kind of a bolt, and I'm just gonna delete this one here in the middle, so you can see these are two united. And of course pretty simple if I select two objects here. So this is one union and this is another one. I can use that to subtract from that. So if I select these two from the list here, I can do a cut or a subtraction. And now I'm subtracting, you see the one there on the top. So depending on how you select this, you're gonna have a different result. So it's important the order that you select. But anyway, I'm gonna delete the result here. I'm gonna delete also these. We're gonna do some more examples together. And you see, when you delete the result of something, you will be able to go back to the original uh, tools that you have used. So I'm going to create real quick a cylinder. Let's start with a cylinder right here in the middle of the scene, and let's create something else. So let's create a like simple box, and double click, Control Shift T, or right click transform, and let's change this box, position it like here. All right, and let's push it down a little bit. Okay. Now there is a suggestion from the manual not to create coplanar situation like this when doing booleans. So it's said to uh, avoid this situation here. So just make the tube a little bit bigger, or that it passed through, or just push it up or down. What I'm gonna do here, select the cylinder, go here into the height, increase the height a little bit, like to 12, so it's a little bit higher, and then I can right click and transform and push it just a little bit down. Okay, now it's snapping here, so let me just make it a little bit bigger, like 14. Okay, so that it goes through all the way. Transform. Okay, and let's push this down. Okay, so let's start with simple operation as usual. So the first thing we can see here is that we have a Boolean. So without selecting anything, we can access the Boolean. So if I click here, we have this pretty complex scheme. Now in here we can select anything that is in the scene and use it for the Boolean operation. So we have a lot of objects here we can select. Now there are some simple solids or simple shapes like cubes or a cylinder, etc., etc. Also compound. Compound means that it's a result already of some operation, as you can see here. So you have a complete picture of what you can use in your scene as a Boolean. So if I instead select before, let me close this. So if I select the things I want to use before, like these two objects right here, and then again I click, they will be pre-selected. So you can see already they are checked in this checkbox. But you can always change that. Now, instead of using a drop-down list, we have here union, difference, intersection, and section. So let's go for, well, union is pretty simple to understand. It's gonna, well, it's gonna do a fusion. It's gonna add those two things together. Let's do difference and let's apply. So you can see we have the subtraction of the box from the cylinder. And if we want the inverse here, we can just click down here, swap selection. So again, if you apply, you see the hole now inside the box. Control Z, or just close and reopen, but Control Z will be fine. Let's see also intersection and apply. So intersection will be the common part. Now you see this other one here. This is a tool that leaves also the common part together with the two others objects that have generated that common part. But that's another tool we're gonna see in just a minute. So intersection section, apply. Now this is a little bit different. It creates like a 2D shapes out of a 3D combination of objects. Okay, once you finish, you can close this up and you can see the result here will be, in this case, the section. So from this, we can proceed into something else, or we can retrieve the original objects that we used to create that. So we can always retrieve it. And if I delete this section compound object, we can find then the original that we used before. So we either go for this, which is like everything we can do with every object in the scene. Otherwise, we can select the two and we can go directly from here. So this is cut. Again, this is important now, the order. So first is going to be the object. The second one is going to be the cutter or the tool, as it's called. And then we have, again, union. So now everything is united. We cannot really see, but they are united. Let's go back. And then we can do here another intersection. So select the two and do common. So that's the common part between the two. Now let me show you another example. So if I select both of these and unite them together, what if I want to see what's happening inside this object? Now this is a solid, but inside it only contains like one face. So it doesn't have a thickness inside. It's just a complete solid. So if I want to create a hollow object, I can use this other tool or thickness. So we select the fusion, which is the result of the previous operation, and we can do a thickness applied to that fusion. So we are applying an effect onto another effect, or an operation onto another operation. We can decide how big will be this thickness. So let's make it a little thin, like 0.1 millimeter. So really, really thin. Well, let's make it actually 2. Okay, we can go here negative or positive. So we can go outside or inside with the thickness. And then let's leave the mode skin. And the join type, let's make just straight here intersection. And now we go here and select which faces we want to remove. So I want to select this front face right here. Set done. And now you can see that face has been removed. And what I see here is the hollow object inside. So now it's not a like total fill body, but inside is hollow. And we can see how it behaves also with the other united element. Now, if we want to do more, if we want to subtract more faces from this, we want to delete more faces, we can use faces, select this other one again, and then let's select also the back. Hold Control to select both with Control key, and then done. And you can see now we have removed also the other face, leaving the rest intact. Okay, if we go here and do not choose any face, and we say done, well, let's go here, for example, and let's delete. Okay, let's delete this and go back to the original Fusion and do the thickness. So skin again, and intersection thickness, let's do like minus 0,2. Okay. Okay, so we need to select something. Otherwise we cannot create the thickness. So we just need to select at least one face. Okay, it doesn't create like the thickness instead. Okay, and then you have other parameters here, like let me select something else. So for example, here I created a glass, kind of a glass shape using a cylinder. So let's create another cylinder, select that cylinder and move it into another position here. So let's move it forward. I'm going to increase, say okay, I'm going to increase the radius to 4 and make this like 7. Okay, so thickness. Okay, and select the face. Okay, done. And this creates an arc down here, join type arc, and depends on the thickness that you're going to give. So you have other options here that you may want to investigate if you want. Okay, but essentially thickness creates this effect, which is really cool. Now, what I'm going to do is continue here. So the next one will be the join objects. Now for the join objects, it's perfect to have a thickness like this. So this is the result of a join. So join is similar to union, but it's going to leave a cut when you have two hollow objects. So let's say that I'm going to add again, you can also find a tube here. So if you want, the tube shape will already contain like a hole inside. So if I show it like this, you can see it has a hole, and I want to rotate this like 90 degrees. Okay, and say okay. And now I want to change the inner radius and the outer radius. So I'm gonna say like the outer radius is gonna be 2.2, so really thin like this, or maybe a little bit more like 2.4. Okay, and now I'm gonna put this using again the transform. I want to put this into this other shape right here. Okay, that I already used, but you can create another one using again the thickness, or you can use another tube if you want. So let's say I want to add this to this, right? So if I do the simple Boolean, it's gonna leave that part. Let me show you here. Let's say okay. So if I use these two objects and unite with the standard union, okay, I need to select them directly. So that's the a connect, and that's the tube. Okay, so let's join. So you can see that hole will not be there. So they're completely merged together. Instead, if I use the connect, so let's connect objects. So again, I select this one here and this other one. Okay. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky. Okay, and let's use the connect objects. You can see what's happening here. It's creating the hole and it's adding that other piece right there. Let me go back. Now this is connect object. Embed is going to embed it like this. And then we have next one is going to be, sorry, is going to be cutout for objects. And be careful again, which is the first one, that it's the base, and then the next one, which is going to be the tool. So let's do it again. Okay, now you can see it's cutting. The second one is cutting through completely. This one here again is going to embed and is going to show the hole. So these are now fused together, but they maintain that hole right there that is like in common. Okay, so that's another tool. Now let's see how we can do this other one. Well, the next one is going to be the Boolean fragments, and this is what it's going to create. So let's create a couple of more objects. I'm going to create a cone, and I'm going to put it right here, and then you can just copy this, like doing, let's say, okay. So I'm going to do Control C, Control V. So I create a copy of the cone, and then I'm gonna like just move it. Let me see. So, well, let's put it here. Okay. So now if I select these two objects, okay, I'm going to use the Boolean fragments. Now you may think that nothing happened here because we're not seeing anything, but if you see here, this is the result compound objects. We can still go back to the original two cones, but something is happening there. Now to see this, for example, if I select this part right here and I try to move it, it doesn't move. They're kind of stick together. So to unlock those, we need to go into draft workbench. So we need to change workbench. And we need a workbench where we can find this, which is the downgrade. And if it's not visible, sometimes you need to use this like double arrow here to expand. So if I use downgrade, look what happens. We cannot see the fragment anymore, but we have three solids. So now if I want, I can change the position of those. So let me go back to part. Okay, just transform those to show you that this is the interior part that was in common between the two cones, and then we have the other two operands, so we can like divide everything. And then we have the slice apart. So well, let's just go back. I'm gonna use the same the two cones. So I'm just gonna go back here to cone 1, cone 2, and where it is here. Okay, slice apart. So you can see we have created two pieces now, and we can access directly from here. We don't need to downgrade. So Control Shift T to move, and you can see now they're just being separated, and so it's gonna leave the other object. And then we have the slice compound. So again, let's use the same ones. So slice to compound, and this time you also see this slice right here. That's the result. So kind of a 2D shape inside those. And then we have Boolean XOR. Now for that, I use these two tubes. You need to have parts that are like overlapping in a way. So I'm gonna delete these two counts. I'm gonna create a couple of tubes again. So first cube is this, and I'm gonna move it here. And let's say I want to go for the let's change the inner radius, something like that. Okay, and also with the placement, we can do like use center of mass, apply. So when you transform, you will find the transform tool right here and not like somewhere else. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and okay, that's okay. Ctrl C, Ctrl V to make a copy. And again, let's move this aside right here. Okay, so we see that we have some parts in common here. They're like overlapping right here. So when you do that type of Boolean called XOR, this is what is going to happen. So in that parts in common, it's going to create a whole. Now, if you want to know more about a tool, you can always click on this arrow with the plus and select one of these. That's going to bring you to the manual, online manual. So if you want to know more about thickness, you can click there, and this is going to tell you more or less what everything means in terms of setting the parameters. Now, the really wonderful thing is that every time you can always go back in the parameters, because this is parametric modeling. So if I go here, for example, this is the embed that I've used, but down there I can find the connect, and down there I can find the thickness. So if I want to go back, for example, to the thickness, I can right click and I can edit that thickness, and I can change the thickness as many times as I want. So I can make as many, let's say, um, you know, tries. So I can always go back and forth. It's really, really handy. So let's say I want to go negative here, 0,4. You can see the difference, and that's everything. It's like reversible, and that's it. So we discover more tools about booleans and subtraction, union, etc., etc. We're gonna continue in the following lesson. So subscribe to the channel to stay updated. Join the channel to support us. Check our other courses and videos, and see you in the next.